Hi everyone, we are starting in 2 minutes. Hi. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for your participation. Thank you, Warriors. This is our last session of this series. And we are very excited to have a pretty good crowd. So, excuse me. Yes. So Monica is experiencing some issues with the internet connection, but the whole, another team member is here. Fernando is with us, so he's going to be covering Monica. So welcome Zoomers and welcome YouTubers. Today we're going to cover the topic as e-assessment. Yeah, so we've been dealing with course creation, selecting material, manipulating material, but what do we do with the material? Okay, let's see. Also creating activities. How to evaluate if we are doing the right thing? So that's the topic Annalise is going to cover with us. So we are on both Zoom and YouTube. Feel free to ask questions, make comments in the chat rooms of both channels. Soon we'll be sending some information about Edmodo, because some people have been asking about how to access it, and we'll be sending some information about it and some other pieces of valuable information that we'd like to share with you. So thank you, Fernando, for being with us. Fernando is the current president of Panama TESOL. Monica is also Panama TESOL's vice president. Yeah,
First vice president.
Vice president, yes.
First vice president.
First vice president. I'm sorry, I didn't know you had 2 vice presidents. Yeah, okay, that's good to know. Yeah, but thank you. So
before
yes,
before we kick off, just one more thing to announce. At the end of the session, you're all invited to your final tasks through Edmodo. So stay there on Edmodo for filling some forms and final evaluation of the course too. Thank you.
Okay.
Enjoy the session. Welcome, Annalise.
Well, Annalise, welcome. The screen is all yours.
Okay, thank you. Let me first greet everyone here. I appreciate all of you coming back for our 6th session. Thank you so much. I have a few more opportunities to say thank you, but I want to share my screen here and we can get going. Can everyone hear me? You can hear me? Okay. So we're going to start today with our last focus, our last topic, and that is this idea of feedback and assessment online. So we've kind of worked through the very beginning of how to think about, envision online courses, some principles, some strategies, and then we moved into design and we looked at tools and motivation. I think today with the feedback, it will be really helpful, kind of complementing what we've done for the 5 previous workshops. So let's just
Sorry, I'm afraid we're experiencing some technical difficulties.
I thought it was me.
Here?
She's back.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a picture of me in 1990 when I was a Peace Corps volunteer. And this is my Fongbei teacher, Marie-José, or José. She was just a new teacher, a couple years older than me, and we have stayed in touch. She became my host sister when I was a Peace Corps volunteer, and here she is last summer at a beachside cafe where we had another meeting. We see each other often, we stay in touch, and I wanted to show a picture of her because she helped me learn a language that's very important to me, the West African language Fongbe, and that's how I communicate with my mother-in-law. She does not speak French. It's a French-speaking country in Benin, so if I didn't speak Fongbe, I couldn't talk with her. So she was a teacher and a person who really had a lasting impact on me. This other person down here is a woman who was instrumental in bringing me to do a Fulbright project at the university in Benin. And she was a mighty feminist, a woman of amazing character and intelligence. And she was the vice rector, and she brought me for this first year experience project. A few months after I left Benin, I got an email from her, and she's now the Minister of Higher Education in the cabinet. And I felt like I wanted to show you a couple of images here of people who've had lasting impact. So if we were doing an icebreaker, I would ask you to think about teachers or people who've made a big impact on your life. I wanted you to think about that as we move forward. I also want to say a very big thank you. This is our last day, and I want to first and foremost thank you, the participants, that you've been really present and amazing. I know the Zoom format is not always the easiest one to stay with or stay focused, and this is good for us to experience because then we can remember what our students are experiencing. So I want to thank Dennis and Elizabeth, of course, Juan Carlos and Monica and Fernando, and the people in DC. I really appreciate the support. It's been a very pleasant and enjoyable experience. So now we're going to dive in. So our focus today, as I was thinking about feedback and assessment, I figure there are a lot of things that you already know because you do it all the time. And so I wanted us to do a quick review of what we all know, think about it, and then we're going to look at this assessment process through maybe a lens that is less familiar. So we have some questions to start with, and hopefully, Fernando, you can help me with the questions on the next slide if people want to respond, and then we'll do the review. I wanted to talk a little bit about these differences between face-to-face and online assessment, then that twist, that unusual focus about student agency. I have some examples, and you may or may not like them, but I'm going to share them. You might be a little surprised by the examples, and then a few thoughts about feedback and beyond, and of course, the bonus resources. So let's get going with some questions here. So Fernando, we have 3 questions for teachers who are online. So this is all of us. We're all going to be online soon as teachers if we have not been before. So this relates to assessment. What do I want my students to be able to know and do as a result of my lesson? And this one is kind of connecting to what we've talked about before. How can I design an online activity in which my students can search for answers themselves? So they're taking some action, they're taking some ownership. And then lastly, how can I effectively measure the success of the learning online? So many of you have done this. I wanted to get your input before we dive in. So maybe Fernando, do you have, we can wait a moment and see if we have some thoughts.
Yep, right on. Let's give him 1 minute.
Okay. Nice to have you with us, Fernando, as the moderator.
I'm glad.
Thank you very much.
Not for so long, because Monica is actually here.
Oh, okay. Well, it's nice to have both of you.
She's the official one. I'm just a backup guy.
Oh, you're both great. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm the guy behind the scenes. I'm moving some other stuff. She's the pretty face to put on. Let's see. Well, all we have now is just questions about Edmodo, which we will answer later. But right now, let's recap on the first question. What do I want my students to be able to know and do as a result of this lesson? Let's see. Anybody there? What do we have on YouTube, Juan Carlos?
Nothing yet. We are 20 seconds behind.
Don't worry, we got a first reply here. Mr. Rick Roman, he says, it is important to ensure students understand the objective, have the review, what they have learned. And then we have Edgar Elliott. He says, I want my students to be able to acquire and develop what they have learned. Yeah. And then Jennifer Guerra says, first of all, I want them to be responsible for their own learning, independent and organized. And finally, we have Amarilis Chavez, who says, I want my, oh, okay. She wants her certificate, I guess.
That's good.
That'll happen at the end of the course. And Anita Mena says, it is important to have a plan. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We got some more if you want me to continue. Juan Carlos?
Yeah, I got
Juan Carlos have any?
Yep. Hang on. Let me see. I want them to be able to read, write, and speak English. And that's from Jihad Sleiman. Eva Ramos says to achieve both the class objectives as well as their personal objectives. And somebody else, group 5, virtual education says, I think formative is more important than summative, but summative is important to get a certificate and it permits to measure the learning and acquisition.
Thank you. Are we good?
You're good.
Okay, I'm going to go on. Okay, so these are questions to think about that we think about every single day. So it's just a way to get us in the groove here. So a quick review. I heard Juan Carlos talk about this. We all learn about formative and summative. And I want you to think about these two columns that you know well, and then try to think about how you use these columns in the online world. So with formative, the in-class and online discussions, certainly clicker questions if you're in class, low stakes group work, weekly quizzes, 1-minute reflection, writing assignments, homework assignments, surveys. All of these things could be adapted for the online environment. So the quicker questions and the surveys could be done as polls. Certainly we do quizzes, we do short reflection assignments. All of these things can easily move into the online world. How about the summative? The summative here are just as important in some ways for some contexts. And I say this because if you come from an educational system where you have to pass a test to get to the next year, that was my husband's experience. That's the French educational system. I'm not sure if Panama is this way, but if you don't pass the test, you repeat the year. So for some places, summative is really crucial. So you have the exams, the standardized tests, the final projects and essays and presentations and reports and the final grades. And I think the way the summative translates online really matches, as someone said, sort of the objectives of the course or the context, because truly final presentations and reports can have elements and steps along the way that are really formative. So that's one thing you all know about. And then I just put up a quick review here that the purpose, as you know, of formative, we want to get students to think about their learning and grow as learners. And there's less high stakes, whereas the summative is much more high stakes. So this is, I think, something that's familiar to you. You can look at the list on your own time, but ultimately, every time we look at these ideas that we learned as English language teachers, and we think about them in the online context, the first question that should come to mind is, how do these adapt? How do they transfer or
I think we're experiencing some difficulties with the internet. Let me see. Can you show your hands if you're good with the internet? Thank you. Thank you, Roman. Okay, my loves. Now, we have some other comments that people were just commenting. So I am going to go ahead and start reading them before Annalise comes back. Oh, she's here. Perfect.
Welcome back.
I was about to keep on with the with the workshop. There you are.
No, I the question, I'd like you to maybe facilitate if the students wanted to answer the question here. I'm sharing, I'll just keep it up there. Excuse me, I said the students, I mean the teachers.
We are all long life learners, so we are
Yes.
always students.
We're students and teachers, yes.
Well, the question, we didn't get it, but I'm going to repeat it. How does the assessment process change in an online teaching and learning format? What do you think? Well, here some people are saying that they're using Kahoot and Google Forms for assessing their students. Let's see if someone else helps us with the answers. Well, I'm going to give my personal opinion before we have more comments. Now that we're teaching online in our courses, what we do is we have a lot of presentations and one-on-ones. I think it's fantastic that this new technology allows us to actually have a lot of one-on-one. You can have, you can ask your students to make videos and just comment on them. And Zoom gives you the opportunity to have different breakout rooms where you can have a conversation with each students. Well, they say that Microsoft Teams, they use forms, and Anita gives special assignments to their students. For example, they have to demonstrate in videos, and quizzes could be used for evaluations too. So those are the comments that I have here. I don't know if Juan Carlos in our YouTube channel can share more comments.
Okay, I got something here. Some Jihad Sneyman says, I will measure the success of my students with rubrics and checklists. Eva Ramos says, I use web quests where students are provided with questions, links to find the answers. Grupo 5, Educación Virtual, says, I think for, well, I read this, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I would like my, Grupo 5, Educación Virtual says, I would like my students to communicate their ideas orally and in a written way. Yes, that's it on my end. So.
We have a new one here that's interesting. Miriam uses Mentimeter, which she says is similar to Kahoot. And Lillian says that she uses Google Forms and interviews, and if necessary, to clear any rules and Google Forms.
Yeah, here's Eva again. Eva's pretty active. Let's see. It is good to have a survey for the students to answer about the assessment of the course itself and their learning.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. We are going to continue now with Annalise.
Oh. Thank you. I like all of those responses. I feel like we have a collective wisdom as language teachers, as English teachers, that we could really share with each other. So the one thought I want to leave you after this question has been discussed is not only how the assessment process changes, but how is it better now? That's something to think about. So some online challenges and advantages that connects to what I was just saying. Certainly for many of us who teach reading and writing, some of the challenges would be the whole issue of academic dishonesty and cheating and plagiarism. But for all of us, we would have perhaps the issue of access. And some advantages, I think, if we do have students who are able to all access, then they could equally have the materials. So we would have some students who are online who might not have some of the reading materials, but there is an equity advantage if we put our reading materials online. Students can take their time and repeat things. I think that one example I like to use here
We're still here, Monica.
Yeah, thank you. Annalise, it's frozen for a second, so we're going to continue. I'll just continue reading the comments that you're just mentioning.
To really
Okay, before she comes back, we have here Felipe is sharing. He says he uses Google presentations to make them work at the same time while I change from one slide to the other one. Oh, that's interesting. It is totally different as students are not going to use paper exams, but a variety of online tools in order to meet their goals. My assessment, the challenge for the students is to make oral presentations about the topics. Okay, well, Annalise posted a very interesting question. That's dishonesty. So how can you deal with that in your classrooms? Do you have any ideas for that? I know that Jennifer says that it's a huge challenge. Indeed, it is. But do you have any ideas on how we as teachers can overcome that? Juan Carlos, do you have any comments in our YouTube channel?
Yes, we have many actually.
Thank you.
Jihad Slayman, 1, 2, 3, 4 comments from him. Yeah, it's he says, I want my students to communicate their ideas and thoughts using the target language in a proficient way. That's my actual goal. Same person, students are doing the tests online. They are not only learning the content of our lessons, but also they're learning how to use technology. Madeleine says rubrics work better in an online format. Unitzel Alfaro says Microsoft Teams, Forms, and Kahoot. Jamilet Lescano, I use SurveyMonkey to evaluate simple things. Jihad Slayman again, something is happening with a live chat. Yeah, our responses are delayed. Yes, they're delayed because we are 20 minutes behind. Yeah, that's a YouTube and Zoom. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Jihad Slayman says, well, I would say that now it's better because I'm working without having to leave my home. And Jose Centeno says, I believe it's the example that is given inside the class.
Well, thank you very much, Juan Carlos. Well, we have here a very interesting comment coming from Selma, and she says that she teaches values and they teach their students how important they are. So I think this is very interesting. You have to always teach values, not just English. When I feel a fake situation, I made a call to call them privately. That's very good. Changing order in questions is good strategies. Oh, okay, when doing tests, yes. This time, okay, we have a comment here from Edgar, I think. It is difficult, but we need to establish the patterns and relay on our students' performance is their teachers know that what do they perform, considering the assessment is a process. Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you, Franco.
Annalise is back.
Yay. Okay, Annalise, welcome back.
I think that I don't know what I did, but it seemed like once I got kicked off, I had to find my link again. So I apologize for that long pause there, but I hope that it allowed you to have
we had good interaction, don't worry.
A little bit of discussion that I think is always fruitful. Good. So we were talking about challenges and advantages. And here is a list of sort of basic online assessment. And I showed this to you, and I'd like you to think about how does this mirror face-to-face? So we have quizzes online, we have quizzes face-to-face. We have open-ended essay questions online. We have essay questions face-to-face. Maybe drag and drop. We don't have face-to-face. That's maybe an online feature. Certainly interviews and that one-on-one that Monica was talking about. We do those face-to-face, we do those online. just like simulations. I have always done polls in my class face-to-face and online. We play games online. We play games face-to-face. I think peer evaluation and review, in my opinion, is easier face-to-face than online, but it is doable. And then, of course, online, the discussion posts. And I think the discussion is one of the main avenues for formative assessment online. So this is just a list to kind of contemplate, how do we do the two different modes? And here is the new kind of angle about agency and assessment. And maybe this is familiar for some, maybe it's not, but the idea that student agency and assessment go hand in hand. And so student agency is this idea that the students set their goals, that they work toward their goals, that they reflect and revise their goals, and they build their self-efficacy, what they believe in. And I think that Monica or Fernando had one person who talked about in their comment, students becoming independent, students thinking about their learning. And so assessment comes from the teacher, but really the newer way of looking at assessment, I think for me and for many teachers, is this idea that it really is a partnership. The teacher assesses and the student self-assesses. So we're going to look a little bit at this, just some information promoting student agency and assessment. So every accomplishment, it starts with this decision to try. And so a couple of quotes here: learning is characterized by learning agency recognizes learners as active participants. They're engaged and they think about the learning outcomes just like the teacher thinks about the goals and the outcomes for the course. The other important thing here is that learners have a choice and they have a voice. Oh, excuse me, that was my dog jumping on the door. Scared me. Anyway, he's very large, black lab. So, okay, so the idea here is that learners have choice and agency, and they have ownership of what they're doing, and that invests them in their learning process and their own sense of self-assessment. Oops, I went too far. So agency and assessment, you have a culture of inquiry and creativity, and the students can engage in a productive struggle. So they have sort of patience and scaffolding, and they're able to learn and be patient with each other and themselves. So that is not my dog. One moment. That was my 9-year-old. I'm so sorry, knocking on my office door. Okay, so we're humanizing our interaction. So then back into the thought process here about agency and assessment. So this idea of promoting agency with assessment, that you are teaching collaborative skills. So students are working together and they learn how to do that and learn how to do that effectively. They also foster sort of this sense that their interest is valid and that their interest can relate to some of the learning experiences in the class. And I have an example from my own class I want to show you about that. Learning targets as a way to promote agency with assessment. So we tell our students, what is it we want them to achieve? And so certainly most of us, I believe, write our objectives on the board. We write our plans out. What are you going to accomplish? What will you come away with today? So here I'm talking about agency, and hopefully at the end of today, you'll think about assessment and agency and how that goes hand in hand. Going forward. So this other idea of this last little page of assessment and agency, that the students know what they want to accomplish and that there's ongoing feedback, and that feedback frames and pushes how they accomplish their goals. So we have teacher feedback to students, student feedback to each other, and also this idea that you can have feedback to yourself and that you as a learner can reflect on what targets look like in the context of whatever project or learning activity and where feedback is provided in relation to each target. And I think that teaching ourselves as teachers using this and having our students use this, the beauty is that the students, they develop their metacognition, they develop their internal agency and their self-efficacy. So they feel like they are agents in their learning and also in their assessing of what they are accomplishing. Let's go forward here. So, oh, I had one more. Okay, so the idea of that self-feedback, and they have their ownership of learning. The one thing on this one I added was the idea of students publishing as a way to assess and to show their accomplishments. And when they're able to share their presentation, share their dialogue, share their writing, we know that it really helps tremendously with their self-motivation. So this is the idea that with assessment, just like with engagement, we are promoting our students' agency. So here, question sort of, how do students increase their agency with assessment? So this is the idea that they own it, they choose it, they even can choose how it's scaffolded. At my community college, students can choose how they are getting help. They can go to a tutoring center, they can meet with a teacher, they can go to a writing center, and they can also really have a sense of choosing their own topics. So we have a clip here about empowering students to own assessment.
Yes, just give me 1 second to share my screen.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. Oh, okay.
I have to share with audio. Just give me 1 second. Sorry.
Assessment is all around us. If you're a skater at a skate park, you're engaging in self-assessment every time you reflect on your progress and plan your next steps. If you're a runner training for a marathon, you look at time splits and compare it to your goals. If you're a musician, you're engaging in assessment every time you listen to yourself play and make modifications to your approach. As an author, you engage in self-assessment when you revise your work, and it's not always individual. Often assessment will happen in community. If you're a chef, you're engaging in peer assessment when you ask a trusted fellow chef, how does this taste? If you're an artist, you might ask for an extra set of eyes on a particular project. If you're an engineer, you might observe users to see if your design is working. And if you do any kind of creative work, both self-assessment and peer assessment are vital for improving your craft. It helps you refine your process and helps you improve your products. Assessment helps us figure out what we know, what we don't know, and what steps we need to take in the future to master a skill or understand a concept at a deeper level. Okay, but what does this mean in the classroom? Well, it starts with self-assessment. Here students engage in goal setting, where they set goals, plan their approach, and keep track of the progress. They also engage in self-reflections. Here they can reflect on the learning process, but also focus on the strengths and weaknesses of their products, which then leads to new iterations. A similar option is a student survey with multiple choice, checkboxes, and Likert scales. In some cases, students might use a self-assessment rubric. Students are able to look at the progression from emerging to mastery with specific descriptions in various categories. They are able to gain an accurate view on what they are doing while also having a clear picture of where they need to be. Students might also use checklists. These can be a powerful diagnostic tool that students use before, during, and after a specific task. When projects are done, they can present their work in a portfolio where they reflect on what they've learned. Peer assessment is also important. One option is the 10-minute peer feedback system. This begins with one student sharing their work or pitching an idea, while the other student actively listens. It then moves to a chance to ask clarifying questions, get feedback, respond to feedback, and chart out your next steps. Another option is structured feedback with sentence stems. This is especially helpful for ELL students. Or you could use the 3-2-1 structure. Now this is simple. Students provide 3 strengths, 2 areas of improvement, and 1 question that they still have. Another option is the peer feedback carousel. Here each group has a stack of sticky notes and they offer anonymous feedback as they move from group to group to group. Or you could keep it more open-ended with peer coaching. Students interview each other about the process, they guide reflection, and they provide feedback. Now, we often think of classroom assessment as a conversation between teachers and students. But in life, students won't always have a teacher to grade their work or give them necessary feedback. And this is why we need self-assessment and peer assessment every day. The more we can integrate this into our lessons, the better prepared students will be for the creative life.
Thank you very much, Annalise.
Thank you. That's one of my my online heroes again, John Spencer. I think he has amazing things. And I believe on Monday, I gave you some more of his clips that you could look at. So from this clip, we come to this idea of how we give students choices in how they assess and progress and develop metacognition and independence. And John Spencer had a lot of different ideas for self-assessment and peer assessment. I know what I use. I will share some ideas with you, but I'm curious to know what you use in the context of your teaching environment. I think that there are many different levels of teachers, public and private, primary, middle, secondary, higher education level teachers. And I'm curious how you use these tools to really empower your students. So I'd like to hear from you, please. You could also tell me what maybe specific tool you haven't used, but maybe that we've talked about that you would like to try to use. So that question is not on there, but something you can add in.
Okay, thank you very much, Annalise. Let's see what people are going to comment here. Let's check. We don't have comments so far.
Maybe
so
I can stop sharing my screen.
Selma is saying that she has projects that she does in groups, self-assessment with checklists during and after the tasks, also peer review feedback. Let's see, when students evaluate a classmate's speech or presentations. I totally agree with peer-to-peer or self-assessment. It's necessary to be included by every teacher in every group. Thank you, Marcis. Marcis has been very active since these 2 weeks. Thank you very much.
I got something here. I like this is Kevin Ruiz. I like the idea of self-rubric. The students will know their learning progress step by step. And Grupo 5, Educación Virtual, I appreciate if you have material, I would have the opportunity that you share with me your experience using gamification. Yeah, he's talking to somebody else there in the group. I'm sorry. Theodora Robles, he's asking the question to Theodora Torres, I'm sorry. Kevin Ruiz again. I'm in public elementary. I almost always use posters because they don't know English language. Yeah, and Junitzel Alfaro says, giving students choices is important as that if what life is all about. Based on this contribution, what I try to do are projects in teams and that these are presented by them during the class. Loribel Moreno says, I agree with Kevin Torres. Students should have the rubrics before and after the learning process and check the improvement and the areas they must improve. And Jihad Sleiman says, I have used peer-to-peer assessments and projects where they present their works in a folder. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Juan Carlos. Well, here we have other comments and some private ones saying that self-assessment is super important when you're teaching. It helps students know their strengths and weaknesses. So thank you very much, Annalise. That's what we have so far here.
Thank you for your comments. I think that one thought I want to leave you with is that this process of self-assessment, peer assessment is something that we teach students early. We learn it as if we learn it young, it follows us. I imagine most of you, as you were training to be teachers, to be English language teachers, you did all of these things with self-assessment and peer assessment, certainly rubrics, but you were very intentional. And it's important that we model that for our students and we train our students. So now we're going to move on here to this idea, there we go, I'm blocking my screen, of feedback and the importance of meaningful feedback that is constructive and that can be provided both from instructors and from peers. So feedback should encourage and motivate. It should help build self-efficacy. It should help certainly students to assess their progress and meet their goals. And there are lots of ways that we have received feedback as students and teachers, and there are lots of ways that we give feedback as teachers now. So this is John Spencer's feedback and trust grid. So I'm assuming that all of you are familiar with the grading system, and you all assign grades to your students, and you all give some feedback. But how is this idea that you have this ability to impact your students with feedback in a way that maybe you hadn't thought of? So here, if your feedback is positive and you have a high level of trust with your students, then that feedback is an affirmation. If your feedback is negative, constructive, and you have a high level of trust, then your feedback, it's critical and it's constructive and it's productive. But what if, as a teacher, you have not humanized your class and you don't have a high level of trust? It says low trust, and you give positive feedback, it's really construed as flattery. You give negative feedback and you have low trust, and it's really seen as something quite hateful. So I show this trust grid. I think it's something that connects back to some of our previous ideas, that even assessment and feedback in this online world relies on the connections that we build with our students so that they trust us as competent educators, as caring educators. And then when we give the positive or negative feedback that the students deserve, need, then their receptiveness is really clear and it's helpful. So I want to show that. Oopsie, there we go. I wanted to give you one example here of feedback. Certainly I use rubrics, and this is not one of my rubrics, but I have detailed rubrics, I have general rubrics, we all use rubrics. But this one I wanted to show you as an example of that humanizing. And I showed you an example, I think, on the first or second day of some comments. So this is my first paragraph of comments. I usually make about 4 or 5 paragraphs. I start with my own response to the writing that they have done. Then I look at their strengths, and I make suggestions. So that's 4 paragraphs. And then my 5th paragraph is usually an encouraging paragraph. But this is my first one, and I give this to you as an example of that connection to create high trust so that the students know I'm really present when I read and I reread what they write. So the student's name, and then I said, this is such a moving essay that was well researched and really pulled me in as a reader. Your conclusion was particularly impactful and left me with goosebumps, reflecting on my own reaction to the young homeless people I see in the Walmart parking lots. You effectively persuaded me to think and wonder about my own perspectives. This was successful. So this was a persuasive essay. You can see it earned an A-, a 90. There were technical issues. It was not perfect, but the persuasive element was powerful and the emotional impact, the ethos was there. So this is the paragraph that I just have as introduction. And what it shows my student is that I read the essay and I reflected on it, and I'm sharing how it impacted me. And I think that in terms of feedback, it's important that it be genuine and it show our own personal reaction and not just critical of technical issues or flaws. So I try to balance. Even a student who turns in a non-passing essay will still get, what is my personal response? What are some strengths? I can find something in almost everything, some strength, and then I go on. But I think this is important to talk about. So I want to talk here about some examples. And I think you might like some of the examples, you might not like them. I just gave you one about feedback, but I want to show you my 101 class first, because this one is a little longer. So this is a research example, and I think I have to go out into my Chrome here and see if I can, no, that's not it. I gotta go back, okay. I thought I had prepared it, but I can just pull it up here. Okay, so excuse me for not having it ready. I may, oh, and there we go, into the grades, which I'm not supposed to show you any of their names. This is really quite illegal. I can't show my class all the names, and I just showed you all the names. Okay, so, okay, so this is my day. I want to show you here the way I build student agency. So let me go down here into our first module, and I have a big picture slide. So the big picture, how all the assignments work together. And so it's a visual, you can tell by now I'm a very visual teacher. And it shows how all the big writing assignments for the course, this is a university transfer level course, they build on each other. So I'm showing you this as an example of student agency with the assessment. So the first thing here is the students decide, they choose their research topic. And that research topic is a problem or an issue that interests them. And I usually tell students, pick something that relates to your major, pick something that relates to a hobby you have or an issue you're very passionate about. So if I have 30 students in a class, I have truly 30 different topics. Now, the last little comment that you saw was about an essay about homelessness and youth. So when I say 30 topics, I might have 5 essays on homelessness, but one might be about youth homelessness, one might be about LGBTQIA homelessness, one might be about veteran homelessness, one might be about homeless families, one might be about mental illness and homelessness. So all of these topics the students will pick. If they are not sure, I will help them. I will talk with them about their interest in their major, but it is their decision. And they say that because they pick, that they are so much more engaged. And I'm sure many of you have had this experience in your own classes. So they do the annotated bibliography research, and then they can choose, do they want to do a descriptive essay, process essay, interview essay? And there are different rubrics and different prompts for these, and they pick what they want. Then they all have more research, and they all have a problem solution essay. So that is the problem, how did they analyze it, the causes and effects, and then what are the solutions? So all of the students, and that's the last one, are given agency. And I should say there is another writing assignment before this, and it doesn't have anything to do with their research topic. It has to do with adult learning theories that they study, and they get to pick which learning theory they're going to write about, and they have several prompts that relate to their life. So they might talk about a learning experience they had in school, a learning experience they had outside of school or with a family member, and they even have a choice of talking about a learning experience relating to their culture and their cultural awareness. So I just wanted to show you my own course example as evidence of my belief in the importance of student agency and how that enhances the student success and actually the assessment process. Because as a teacher, I'm not reading 30 essays about the same piece of literature, which I don't mind doing, but I think 30 years later, I really like the variety. So that is that. I'm going to go back into show you my other example, but I think before I do that, I want to take a moment and make sure you're still with me. So before I show this other example, maybe I would like to know how you give your students that sense of agency with the assessment options. I'm monitoring my time here. So if anyone wants to respond. I don't have the question. It's just your own example with how you give students choices, agency with assessment, with assignments.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see what people comment here. Okay, Jorge says that trust needs to be built up, not negatively criticizing learners' progress, but rather errors or mistakes are okay and just a part of the learning process. As Einstein points out, the formulation of the problem is more important than its solution. Thank you, Jorge. Let's see. Oh, okay. When students talk about their personal experiences, they feel more comfortable and excited to share with their classmates and hear the comments from classmates and teachers. We have another comment here. It says, I use hamburger feedback method. Oh, this one is great. Positive, constructive, and positive feedback. So they feel confident and know that I am providing the feedback to persuade the students to work on the areas of opportunity and increase their strengths. Thank you, Unitzel. It says here, Mr. Roman, yes, always have your students write on different topics. It's easy for them it's easy to form biased opinions if you tend to read the same topic all over again. Thank you, Ricardo Roman. Ricardo Roman has been very active throughout this workshop, commenting and coming to all your classes, Annalise. Okay. Mauricio says feedback is always important and it helps us know if they understood us and if we have to fix something that was not well explained. It says here, I also write comments answering first to their message on a piece of writing and then checking the grammar or vocabulary, always giving positive feedback. Marcy says that feedback is a great strategy that let us give our students the right advice at the right time. Thank you very much. Feedback helps tailor my sessions. I'm going to stop for a little bit here. So I give Juan Carlos the opportunity to share what our YouTubers are saying.
Hi. Well, I'm getting hungry because somebody already spoke about hamburger feedback and somebody here speaking about sandwich feedback, where you make positive statements, discuss areas for improvement, and then finish with more positive statements. Another technique is stop, start, continue. That's Loribel Moreno. Grupo 5, Educación Virtual says, example, have been impacted for my classes and your knowledge, also for your energy and how you had transferred it to us as teachers and your passion to teach. You have helped us in a great way. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan Carlos. Okay, Annalise, that's everything that we have here so far. Let me just, there you are.
Okay, so now I want to show you another example. One thing that has been, I think, a little bit unusual for me in this workshop is that there are so many people at different levels. So frequently I talk about my experiences working with young adults during their first year at university college, the 2-year college I work at. But I did have an opportunity to work with some children in a Zoom camp. And we devised a week-long experience for the children, other teachers and myself, to look at the issues around prejudice and racism. And each day we had a different focus. So I wanted to share with you what I prepared, and I wanted to give this to you as a final sort of example where you can look at some of the principles that I'm talking about regarding assessment, regarding engagement, also regarding the whole idea of self-reflection. So I'm going to go into a different Google slide. And this was for children. We had children who were at the end of elementary school, so the last 2-3 years of elementary school, and then the first year of middle school. So 8, 9, 10, 11 kind of was the age. And the topic for this day was prejudice. So I want to show this to you as a model, and I want your response, because I'm not an elementary or middle school teacher, but I was using the same principles. This was an online experience. So we're not going to go through everything, but I want to give you kind of a look at something that's kind of a model lesson. So we're not going to listen to it. We started with a song where they got up and they danced. And the Alphabet Rockers here are a great group, and they're children who sing. The song also related to the theme. We looked at the goals for the day, and we were really examining vocabulary terms, looking at them in the context of current events, and doing work, some work in small groups, and having the students demonstrate their understanding in different ways. So the terms that we had 8 terms: stereotype or stereotyping, racist, racism, segregation, discrimination, prejudice. And we wanted to emphasize that these were the terms that were the negatives. And then we also had 3 more: privilege, ally, and justice. And so the ally and the justice kind of transition to the more positive terms. So here is where we paused. I paused and I asked the students, what do you know about these words already? And individual students were able to respond. What do I know? What do I think? Why are they important? So there was a time after just introducing the words that we're really activating their schema and trying to find out what they knew. Then we start to talk about definitions. So we have slides with definitions. At this slide, there's also this opportunity for students to talk about some examples. There's another slide where they can also talk about it. So then we have definitions of stereotype and bias. And we try to get students to understand that stereotypes and bias, that is what fuels prejudice. And one thing you'll note here that I'm trying to show you and model is that we have text, but also images. So the images also reflect the context of the vocabulary. So here, Muslims are not all terrorists. I can actually see you. My hair is real. I am not a color. So these are posters that children made to say, I am not this stereotype. This is not true. Then we had a clip, and this is a poetry reading where the students together are talking about stereotypes and asking the audience, what do you see? And it was kind of urban poetry, powerful, and it was a way for the students to see other students' voices talking about this. And I'm not playing it, I'm just showing you. So we have so far visuals, clips, music, poetry, vocabulary, and we're going back to vocabulary. So the balance here of trying to give information and then pull back a little bit with something visual. So race, racism, and racist. Here, I've shown you these pictures before where my family and I were participating with the Black Lives Matter movement. So we're showing some of these ideas. And then this one, I did ask Monica to show a few minutes. I think the first 2 minutes of the book or 3 minutes, because I wanted to show how, as an observer, you're not a primary or middle school student, but you can start to see how the lesson is progressing. So now we have a story.
Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Let me start.
My name's Jelani Memory, and this is a kid's book about racism. This is a book about racism, for reals, and yes, it really is for kids. It's a good book to read with a grown-up, because you'll have lots to talk about afterward. Just you, keep reading, the book won't bite. Now to introduce myself. My name is Jelani. My skin color looks like this. If you're colorblind, this is the color brown. Because my dad is black and my mom is white, which makes me mixed. Or African American, biracial, black, or a person of color. I'm proud of who I am and the color of my skin, but because of my skin color, people aren't always nice to me. Sometimes I get called names, other times it's worse. The person doing it might not even realize that it hurts me a lot. And when they treat me that way, it makes me feel small. You see, some people believe that having different color skin means you aren't as good as others. That's called racism. What is racism? Racism means to hate someone, exclude them, or treat them badly because of their race or the color of their skin. And it happens all the time. Not just in big ways, but sometimes it shows up in small ways, ways that are almost invisible.
Thank you for such a powerful video.
Thank you. So to keep going with the lesson, I didn't tell you at the beginning, this is an hour. So as you can see, there's a lot of stopping and starting. At the end of this book, there's discussion time to talk about what the students understood. And I'm trying to give you a sense of how the sequencing in Zoom is in small chunks. And probably many of you are already familiar with this chunking and this process, but I'm giving you a demonstration. So we have the book, and then there is this discussion, the examples that you listen to the book, and that was the time to talk together. This could be done in a small group if it's a small enough group of students participating, or in the Zoom breakout rooms. Then we continue with the vocabulary. So each vocabulary term has a short definition, and then it has these images that illustrate it. We talk about the images, the students read the definition, and then the students read the images or the pictures. So we would say, like, what do you see in each picture? This allows all the students to participate, whether it's reading, whether it's answering a question, why segregation matters, or reading a picture and saying, you know, what do you see in the picture up here? The guns are pointed at peaceful protesters. And we talk again about why it matters. We look at the pictures. We even look at a little bit of data here that is, for students, not always captivating, but I feel like it's really important to put in because sometimes parents are with them. So then we move on to the other terms, the idea of an ally. And this is a particularly popular and powerful cartoon image, because privilege, allyship and privilege, they're a little challenging for the kids to understand. And so the cartoon is a really important visual. We also have a clip here, and this is very sweet. I'm not playing it for you, but it's really small humans talking about what they understand an ally to be after a grown-up has explained it to them. And the last line is really powerful. It's just be nice, just be kind, be there as a friend. And then a little quick touch on justice, mainly because we're also talking about injustice. So justice is important here. And then we go into the Zoom rooms. This is a clear 5-minute Zoom room. The kids are talking about the terms. A lot of times there's some emotional responses here. The kids are like, ooh, that was pretty heavy duty. And some of the kids remember certain pictures or terms, others remember others. So it's a really nice way for kind of a peer learning process. And then I want to show you an assessment piece here. This was a quiz. And so each of the children did the drive-through packets. And in the packets, they had the activities for the day. So we cut out little pictures, the pictures you saw in the presentation, definitions, the ones from the presentation, and the 8 vocabulary words. And so they had a glue stick and they were supposed to create a final product. So we given them folders, and this was my daughter's, my 9-year-old daughter. So she was trying to match and then find the picture that goes with each one. And I took a few pictures of hers. We had a song break here, and this is a time to kind of let the energy come and also refocus in a way to kind of, there's some heavy emotions, particularly for students of color. We lost you. Hello? No, we're not doing a song yet. No, not yet. Okay.
I don't think I have it either.
Okay. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. So this was the song break. So you heard me talk about this. Did you hear me talk about the song break? Hello?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Here.
Okay. And then we're almost done here with my little model. We had a second book. So remember, this is an hour, and this is another amazing book. And I liked that it was read by a Black cartoon reader who really personalized it. And it's a powerful book. Something happened in our town, a child's story about racial injustice. So there's another kind of story. And this is really a story about 2 children. So it's not just information, it truly is a story. And then after that, they do the KWL chart, and they had that in their packet. So that was another opportunity to reflect. And we did a little bit together, and then a little bit they did at home. And then their homework was to make their own song or poem or drawing or chalk drawing about what they learned. And I do not have the students who participated drawing, but I have some examples. So the chalk drawing, which they did do, but they didn't do this one, the Black Lives Matter. And then this one showing being an ally here. So I thought that this is a good way to show the younger level of engagement and assessment. So for what that's worth, I don't know if you found that particularly helpful, but I thought it would be good to show one example for the younger the teachers of youngers among us. So now I just have some time to have your responses, just your feedback, your response to the examples that I showed you and how they reflect not just really online and assessment practices, but they also were specifically the Prejudice is Personal one was designed to show some of the best practices that we've gone over. And I will also admit I'm not an elementary school teacher, so you could also make suggestions for me on that trust and feedback grid if you had ideas to make it better. So please, I'd like to hear from you.
Okay, perfect. Let's see if we receive some comments. Okay, can you repeat the question, Annalise, for us? I'm sorry.
So on the screen here, can you see the screen? How do my examples illustrate the online feedback and assessment practices shared here? What questions remain? And I added in a second part, and that was how does the elementary school kind of module lesson that I shared also reflect some of the best practices that we've talked about for online learning, and maybe some ways it doesn't, something that could be added or enhanced.
Okay, it says, thank you, Annalise, for sharing your lesson plan. I enjoyed the part where you gave students assignments to reflect on. Thank you. Okay, let's see if we have any other comments. I don't know if this is working, but I'm not receiving much. I just got one private.
Okay.
Juan Carlos, what about you? Do you have some there?
Not really. So
No?
just somebody who said that she's gonna finish reading the book. Somebody thanking Annalise for the updated info. That's it, but we are 20 seconds behind, so I'm gonna wait.
Okay, thank you, Selma. She says that they were very powerful examples of assessment with joy and engagement. Rick Roman, it's mentioning here that teachers need to know how well students are assimilating lessons so they are not to leave anyone behind. You also have to assess each student at the end of the quarter, term, or semester and bestow a final grade that reflects both their understanding and their level of effort. And Jacqueline is saying here that assessment should include a variety of activities in which every individual has the opportunity using the multiple intelligences. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Annalise.
Okay, so we're coming to the end here. I have some bonus materials to show you, and then a couple of little thank you clips, some songs that I'm showing you to say thank you and also as resources. But I talked about motivation and I had wanted to share this slide. I forgot some simple strategies to get students' attention online. And I remember a couple of days ago, somebody said that their voice was quiet and they had a hard time getting students' attention. And one of the tips is to change the tone and the volume. So sometimes it's great to speak in a quiet voice to get their attention. Also, this is the Stanford Center for Opportunity Policy and Education. So this is a really big research center and some of their suggestions about student engagement and assessment. And I thought that these 6 different elements of relevance, authenticity, collaboration, higher order thinking skills, autonomy, and self-assessment were important to kind of draw your attention to. I'm not going to go over them, but they're here. There's a link if you want it. And then this is a link to 10 promising practices for teaching with technology that I was going to include earlier in the workshop that I didn't. So that's another bonus. And then I have some thank yous. And these are samples of things I use when my 9-year-old was little. We did all sorts of kids TV 1, 2, 3. They have really great resources. This one I think is fun for olders, and then mine that I really like on the next page. So this is my way to say thank you and also share some more resources. So Monica, do you want to play a little tiny bit? I think I told you just a little bit of each one. I'll stop sharing.
Let's see here. I have these 3. Do we start with this one?
Yeah, the kid one.
THANKYOU, thank you, thank you. THANKYOU, thank you, thank you. THANKYOU, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank.
Oh, it's so cute. Okay, let's continue with this one.
So the next one.
Thank you, arigato, gracias, obrigado, merci, shvaladanyavad. Danke, tante grazie, kitos, gratis tibiago, tak konsonido. Mahalo, llora toda pona, muchacha quiere dan con asante shukran. Haristo, terima kasih, Ura, ungosika kulu, awi espasiva, nandri salamat. Gratas, que ricas como malo, anuri Stosni, Łagotapadla. Mahalo, Kiora toda pona. Muchacha quiere dan con Asante Shukran. Haristo, Trima Kasi, She. Dara, dara, dara.
Okay, do I play the next one?
Yeah, just a short little bit of it
Okay.
is the way to, I like this one's one line.
Thank you for being a friend. Travels down the road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. I'm not ashamed to say, I hope it always will stay this way. My hat is off, won't you stand up and take the bound? And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be for me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend.
Okay, so that was my my second way of saying thank you to you all. And I have the sources that I used today are in here. And then again, thank you. It has been a pleasure. I'm here if you have questions. I think we've touched on lots of different things, but hopefully if you go back into Edmodo, each of the presentations have lots and lots and lots of all sorts of things that you could really look at more slowly, digest at a different rhythm than our sort of fast-paced hour, 15 minutes together. So I encourage you to look at those resources and enjoy. So I'm stopping sharing.
Thank you, Annalise. So this is a good time for asking questions in case you have any.
I want to stop sharing. There we go. Stop sharing.
Annalise is still with us. Any questions?
So I have, I'm here if you have questions, but I'm done with what I had, so.
Okay, I got a question here, Annalise.
Any questions or thoughts?
Yeah, it's about the
Probably
book.
At the end, I have a survey form if I do a workshop or if I teach a class. I don't have a survey form for you, so we'll just have to go by the comments.
Okay.
Don't worry, we
Sally,
have the survey.
I'm sorry. Ladies first.
We
Can't
have
hear
the
you,
survey,
Monica.
Juan Carlos.
I don't
Sorry.
know why I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Can the rest hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Nothing's muted.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there. I can hear you now.
Okay. Well, just that Fernando is going to send the survey with some questions. So
Oh,
he's
good.
going to be contacting everyone. I know that I have repeated this many, many times in the past, but I'll do it just one more. You have to join our class in Edmodo. We are going to post everything there. And the survey is going to be there also. Fernando is going to stay with you a little bit longer in case you need any help with that. And
Alright.
I'm sorry, you have been receiving a lot of thank you notes. You can check them in the chat one.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Monica, and thanks a lot, Annalise. Well, basically what we're gonna do now is just, I'm gonna walk you through in case you've got any trouble getting on Edmodo. Second, I'm gonna, second thing is just, there are gonna be two different surveys. Well, actually the first one is a form because we need your information in order to prepare your certificates. certificates are going to be received in your inboxes within the next 15-day period. 15 days is the max, but we hope we can do this as quick as possible, as long as you help us with the information. That form will be found on Edmodo as an assignment, and your final assignment will be just a survey. We want to know, your feedback is very important for us, so we want to know what you recommend us to improve for coming courses, if you liked it, if you had a good time, what went well, and what still needs some adjustments. So that's very important for all of us. You know, as teachers, feedback is always a very relevant part of the process. And well, that's about it. So on my part and on the Panama TESOL's part, we just want to give you a big thanks to Annalise. Thank you, Juan Carlos. Thank you, Dennis, and all the people that works behind the scenes and at the embassy. To all the Panama TESOL team, especially to Monica, because she's in the face of the whole process. And thank you for the YouTubers as for the Zoomers as well. Some of you have been interacting in both. So have I, and I think some of us have done the same, just to be checking what's going on in one and the other. So thank you very much for staying. I know it's been kind of long, but not long, not that much. And we tried to make it easier, short, and precise, so you can enjoy it and you don't feel the stress of the day. So thank you so much on behalf of Panama TESOL. Peace. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm going to be here.
Well,
Monica?
I'd like to thank everybody on behalf of the U.S. Embassy, to all the participants. It's been a great, we've spent a great time with you, and we are really excited about this Pioneer project. This is just the beginning of so many more things we're going to be working on together with Panama TESOL. Yeah, there is a lot coming. Yeah, to our team, Annalise, of course, you've done a tremendous job. So we are really thankful and we are really pleased. Yeah, to the Panama TESOL team, Monica, you rock. Yeah, yeah, and Fernando. Yeah, thanks a lot for all your support. Yeah,
I'm actually a rocker too.
Yeah, the guys behind scenes. Yeah, yeah, but well, that's it on my end. Later on, I'll be sharing some links about Edmodo. We've been talking about Edmodo for quite a while. Yeah, I'll be sharing some links about Edmodo. All the recordings are going to be posted on our YouTube channel. Also on Edmodo, we are posting everything. So at the U.S. Embassy, specifically the Regional English Language Office, we have a contact list. Some of you have already joined. Well, a lot of you have joined that contact list already. I'm going to send a link one more time in case you wanna join us. If you feel overwhelmed by so many messages I sent, just send me a message and ask me to unsubscribe you. Yeah, I can do that too. Yeah, but we share lots of good information about grants, resources, and all of that is for free. So just take a chance. Well, we are surprised that we have also, we have people here from Panama, from other countries. There are people from Bolivia, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, also from Ecuador. So yeah, we're going beyond and we are really excited about that. It's been a great experience. I'll be also sharing information about, what I forgot, but I'll be sharing information, just wait for that. I'll be sending all that via the chat room. So that's it. And thank you. And we hope to see you soon in another endeavor like this. Thank you so much. Bye.
All right. So I hope you're ready for the walkthrough on Edmodo. I know, hey, where is Monica? Did she leave? Monica, you here?
Yeah, I think so.
Here is Baduka. Welcome, Baduka. Well, you've been all the time here. Baduka is part of the team too. And some of the other members of the team have been on and off through the week. All right, let's see. Yeah, some people are asking for the survey. No, the survey is not gonna be sent to any email. It's gonna be posted as an assignment on Edmodo in a couple of minutes. It's not there yet. Let me see if I can share my screen so I can help you out or walk you through Edmodo. Looks like my internet is acting funky right now. Hold on a second. Sometimes Cable Onda gets a little bumpy. All right, here we go. Let me see. Okay. You can see it now, right? Perfect. So here we are. Let's say we're on Edmodo and we hit the home button right here. So all we gotta do is just, please follow me because I might speak a little quick or explain a little quick here. So again, you're at home button, you click here after you open your account. I assume you already opened your account. Once you do that, the problem that I have received mostly on our email account is how do I subscribe to the class? So easy. Once you're there, you come right here, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, where it says My Groups. You click in this ellipsis right here. And down here, it says Join a Group. So all you have to do is just click here. And here you are. Join a group. You will do the code. It's YAYP75. And then you just join and you're gonna be right there. I think it was clear. Let me just explain it once again. I click the home button just to make sure I'm on the first layer of the platform. Then I come to My Groups right here and I hit the ellipsis button to the side. Then I come down where it says Join a Group and I just click there and I enter the passcode. Once I do that, I just click on Join and that'll be it. I'm gonna be right in the classroom. Is it in or on? Because this is virtual, so I think it's on the classroom. Whatever. So that's about it. I think it was not nice and clear, but if you still have any questions, just let us know. Okay, Juan Carlos is posting some important information in the thread. So please just stay there and read it because it's very important information for all of you, in case you're interested in following us for more events.
Thank you, Fernando.
Thank you.
Okay, Annalise, I don't know if you have any final words you would like to share with us?
Annalise, this is your time to make us cry.
Yeah, just see here. Way.
Thank you. I think I've talked enough. It's been
Never
lovely.
is enough.
How do you know it's enough?
My daughters tell me. It's been a pleasure. I hope that it's a successful experience as you go into the next school year online. We all have the same experience. We're all experimenters, so.
It's been a journey. Thank you. I'm wordless now, so I'm wordless. Thank you so much, Annalise. Yeah, we really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Rick Roman, we are going to post a survey. Don't worry. Bye-bye, guys. Enjoy. We'll see you on Edmodo shortly. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon. Have a great afternoon.